Now we discuss the evolution of local assemblies in Northern Europe. In Norway, there is a town named as Steinkjer. Steinkjer is near the city of Trondheim. There is a boat-shaped ring of large stones. At this place, Viking freemen regularly met from about 600 Christ era to 1000 Christ era CE. Here they would hold an adjudicative assembly. In the Norwegian language, this assembly was called a ting. The English word thing is derived from an Old English word meaning both thing and assembly. Similar places can be found elsewhere in the vicinity. By 900 CE, assemblies of free Vikings were meeting not just in the Trondheim region, but in many other areas of Scandinavia as well. The ting was typically held in an open field. It was marked off by large vertical stones. At the meeting of the ting, the freemen settled disputes. They discussed, accepted, and rejected laws. They adopted or turned down a proposed change of religion, as they did when they accepted Christianity in place of the old Norse religion, and even elected or gave their approval to a king. King was often required to swear his faithfulness to the laws approved by the ting. So these were the powers of the Norwegian ting. The Vikings knew little or nothing about the democratic and republican political practices 1,000 years earlier in Greece and Rome. Operating from the logic of equality that they applied to freemen, they seem to have created assemblies on their own. The idea of equality was alive and well among Viking freemen in the 10th century. It is attested to by an event. According to the event, some Danish Vikings were traveling up a river in France. Someone asked them, "What is the name of your master?" They replied, "None. We are all equals." But we must resist the temptation to exaggerate. The equality that Vikings boasted about applied only among free men. Even free men varied in wealth and status. Beneath the freemen were the slaves. The Vikings possessed slaves like the Greeks and Romans, or for that matter, Europeans and Americans centuries later. Among the slaves were enemies captured in battle, or the hapless victims of raids on neighboring peoples, or simply persons bought in the ancient and ubiquitous commerce in slaves. When slaves were freed, they remained dependent on their previous owners. Slaves were caste below the free men. Above the free men was an aristocracy. Aristocracy composed of families with wealth and hereditary status. Wealth was usually in land. At the top, there would be a king. Power of the king was limited by at least three things: by his election, by his obligation to obey the laws, and his need to retain the loyalty of the nobles and the support of the free men. In spite of these severe limits on equality, the class of freemen was large enough. The class of freemen could impose a lasting democratic influence on political institutions and traditions. Among freemen were free peasants, smallholders, and farmers. In several other parts of Europe, local conditions also sometimes favored the emergence of popular participation in government. The high mountain valleys of the Alps, for example, provided a of protection and autonomy to free men engaged in pastoral activities. Raetia. Raetia was an ancient Roman province. Later it became a Swiss canton. A modern writer describes Raetia around 800 CE. Farmers in Raetia found themselves in a uniquely egalitarian situation. These free peasants were bound together by their common status and by their common rights of usage over mountain pastures. They developed a sense of equality. This sense of equality was wholly at odds with the hierarchical, status conscious thrust of medieval feudalism. This distinctive spirit was to dominate the later emergence of democracy in the Raetian Republic.